Originally I had another Upstarter who I worked with, and she was very difficult to get to open up and stuff, and it wasn't just that, like, just because she was shy, but she wasn't very committed to the story, and she had no passion for the topic that she had, and that resulted in me not actually wanting to do the story at all because she wasn't interested. And that, like, even though I had less time to start over, I was just like, I'd rather do it with someone who really wants this. My person was really keen to do the film, and she was so passionate about her story that it kind of gave me the passion as well. She initially didn't think of a solution to a problem, although she did say, like, people need to talk about the issue of teenage pregnancy. But I asked her, like, what does she think needs to be done? And she talked about the government having to make ads that appeal to them, her generation as teenagers. And then I gave the idea that they should come up with an ad that would appeal to them. And she got all her friends involved, and they just came up with an ad. And all I did was, like, facilitate it and refine it and, like, refine the idea. And yeah, she was very pleased with the outcome.
Well, at first everyone was very giggly and not all that eager to actually talk properly. So it took a lot of chatting to him off camera to make him comfortable with me and make him able to speak. And yeah, I think it was just building up a relationship with him without the camera that finally got him to speak.
Say anything to the camera?
I'm really glad that we're finally shooting today. And everyone's going to be doing this interview. I'm just going to get nervous because everyone's watching. But you're on class of work? No. Well, you still talk normally if they're here. You're not going to laugh, hey? You're not going to say teenage pregnancy and giggle a whole lot.
Well, through the process of filming Apiwe, I really sort of got to grips with what the problem is in terms of unequal education. He seemed to know what was going on in as much as he could practically engage with. And just in terms of the whole process, I actually found it very, very fun, very, almost like a game, but at the same time, it seemed to mean a lot more to him than I would have thought initially. He was very enthusiastic, and it wasn't something that I could comprehend properly until I managed to get down to filming with him.
Because her friends were also involved in the filmmaking process, and that was because of her, she wanted them involved, it gave the platform of Bluetoothing it to them more open, because they wanted to see themselves in something that they did as a group, and then they will show it to their friends. And I think the Bluetooth concept will help to spread it and actually do what Aviwe wanted to do, that people talk about teenage pregnancy.
Well, at first when Devon was talking about teenage pregnancy, he was really just thinking in the context of his own friendship group. But the more we spoke, the more he began to realize that it's actually a problem that impacts the sort of wider public sphere. It's a problem that impacts the whole of South Africa. And he also started realizing the value of education, because he was talking about how if his friends had had the child, they would have dropped out of school and remained uneducated. The more we spoke, the more Devon started, as I was saying, realizing the value of education. And I don't think the filming process necessarily revolutionized his life or changed him forever, but he did start thinking more about his own future and more about his own education. At the beginning of the process, he said he wanted to be an artist, but he said he didn't really have an interest in studying fine art. And then the one day, towards the end of it, I took him to a student exhibition at Rhodes, and he sort of saw what he could do if he studied and if he was taught how to sort of create art. And by the end of it, he was saying, actually, maybe education's a really good idea and maybe I should study further. So I think in that regard it changed him, definitely.
Apiwe felt quite strongly about a lot of things in his own life. I tried to get him to understand on a more national level.
Aviwe's topic was a very obvious public social concern, but in her eyes that the teenagers talked about it among themselves, but the adults weren't talking about it, and they only talked about it as gossip rather than trying to talk about it in a constructive way.
I watched the launch and everyone's film videos. I gained so much from the experience. I watched what they had to say, how they felt about the situations and challenges around them. I also got to see my own video from another perspective or point of view.